with me, Maurice Alexander.
And me, Constance Branch. We'll discuss relevant and timely topics regarding the music business industry with guests ranging from musicians and attorneys to music distributors and marketing professionals.
Just to inform you, music is business.
Successful businesses make money.
Our From the Professional Technology segment will inform you about technology impacting the industry or what's available to you. Listen to us every Monday at 9 a.m. And remember, music is business.
This is a UBM Black History Minute. Jesse B. Blayton, a graduate of the University of Chicago in 1922. He then moved to Atlanta to establish a private practice as an accountant. Blayton passed the Georgia accounting examination in 1928, becoming the state's first black certified public accountant and only the fourth African American nationwide to hold the certification. In 1949, Blayton made history when he bought the 1,000-watt Atlanta radio station WERD for $50,000, making him the first African American to own and operate a radio station in the United States. I'm D. Curtis Randall. Urban Broadcast Media celebrates Black History Month.
The following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries.
Thank you for listening to UBM Talk.
Hi, this is Reverend Rick McCain.
And I'm the Brenda McCain, and you're listening to Let's Stay Together Talk.
Come on board the McCain train and take a 2-hour ride with us
as we discuss topics like the next stop and making marriage work.
So get your tickets now before the train leaves the station.
Thanks for joining us. Take a seat on our train. You just arrived at Let's Stay Together Talk.
Hey, all right. Welcome to Let's Stay Together Talk. I'm here with my baby, my girl, my boo, author Brenda McCain. Hey, we're going to rush right into this thing because we've got a doctor who is going to be doing surgery soon, so we've got to get to him right away. So, baby, he's on the line right now. So
we would like to welcome Dr. Andre Artis, cardiologist, to the Next Stop segment. If you're on the line, hello, Dr. Artis. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
We are doing great, and we thank you for squeezing us in your busy schedule. Thank you.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure.
It's an absolute pleasure of having you. Go ahead, babe.
And so, we're not going to hold you long, and when you got to get off the phone to take care of, a life, we will understand that. What we just wanted to do is talk about, healthy heart, recognition, and kind of talk about the need for individuals to have health or a healthy heart. Can you explain a little bit about what that means to have a healthy heart?
Well, a healthy heart, from a physical perspective, means that, in other words, that you're able to do physically everything that you would want to or should be able to do for your age. The one thing that I think is real important when we think about healthy hearts is that particularly for young people as well as for old people, is that I think of taking care of your heart as just like you would what you would do for a retirement plan. When you're going to retire, you start putting monies away early so that when you retire, you have enough to retire on. A healthy heart, if you start taking care of it early, it will serve you well when it's time for you through your life as well as when it's time to retire. So a healthy heart allows you to do physically everything you want to do, including serving the Lord.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I love that. So, a lot of us, we want to have a healthy heart, but I don't really know what it means to have a healthy heart. Am I supposed to eat right? Am I supposed to work out? Can you kind of give a definition of what an individual should be doing to make sure that their heart is healthy?
Yeah, that's right. So there's several things that we talk about when we talk about what I would call prevention or risk factors that are things that determine whether your heart will be healthy or whether it will not be healthy. Now, there are two categories. There's some things that you can do something about, and there's some things that you can't do anything about in terms of risk factors. And risk factors are things that predispose people to having unhealthy hearts. So, for example, the things that you can do something about are things like eating a balanced diet, exercising on a regular basis. And just a note to that, for every hour of exercise that you do, you actually add about 2 hours to your life.
Wait a minute. Repeat that again, Dr. Artis. You said every hour of exercise?
Yes. So you're adding time to your life when you exercise.
Yay.
So, so again, just like, when you start putting monies away for retirement, the more you do, the earlier you do it, the better you are off in the future. Okay. The same thing with the heart. So diet is important. Exercise is very important. Maintaining a good weight is important. Getting your sleep is very, very important. Controlling things that you can, for example, if you have high blood pressure, very important to take care of that, because high blood pressure is a gateway to a lot of different diseases specifically related to the heart. Heart failure, strokes, heart attacks. If you have high cholesterol, it's important to take care of that. It's important, first of all, to know what your cholesterol level is. So if you don't, you need to find out. And do the things that are necessary to take care of that, some of which is diet, sometimes it's medication. So those are some of the things. So, drinking water in particular is very liberating. Not the soda pop, not the juice, but the water makes a big, big difference in terms of that.
I have a question for you, Dr. Artis.
Yes.
When you said cholesterol, I was reading something about small, dense, and large, fluffy LDL cholesterol. What is that? What does that mean?
So the small, dense particles are the ones that are most problematic. Those are the cholesterols that get into the blood vessel wall and stick, and eventually, over time, accumulate and can cause the blood vessel opening to narrow, so that there's reduced blood flow to the organ that it's supplying. It could be the heart, it could be the brain, it could be the kidneys, it could be the leg circulation. So it is not just the heart, but it is in the entire cardiovascular circulation that's affected by those dense particles of cholesterol. The fluffy cholesterols are more like your big, what we call buoyant cholesterols, and those are the ones that are easier for the body to digest. And so those are the ones that when the body breaks up, they can be used for other body functions, as opposed to the ones that are small, dense, that deposit in the blood vessel wall, stick and clog things up for you.
So it's like plaque in the arteries then, the small.
Yeah, it is the cause of plaque. Now, I think that one thing that's very interesting, and because as we were talking about earlier, starting early to take care of yourself, there have been studies that have looked at over time how early cholesterol starts to deposit in us as humans. And if you could imagine, because of the Western diet that most of us have, that can happen at a very, very early age. And you'll notice that one of the things that all young kids will know when they're driving down the street, they will notice the arches and the high cholesterol content of the arch food, McDonald's, for example. That is a staple of the American diet. So what I'm saying by that is that cholesterol begins to develop in children as young as, wait for it, in autopsy specimens as early as 3 to 6 months of age, you start to see small amounts of cholesterol developing in some children.
Yeah, wow.
Now, depending on the diet that you have, that could actually be much more problematic. And I'm going to have to apologize. I've got a patient on the table having a heart attack.
Okay, well, you go do you, and save that life.
And we appreciate you being on this phone with us for a short period of time.
Absolutely. And blessings to you, and please keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
You too.
All righty.
All right. Hey, I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, he took a few minutes to be on the phone with us to talk to us about heart health, and we has to run. We're happy that we have someone who is concerned about saving a life.
Yeah. And you know what? Even in that short amount of time, we learned a lot.
Yeah.
Because I did not know plaque buildups when you a child, a baby like that. And, you know, from the stuff he was saying with the cholesterol, I'm thinking the small ones might be better, you know, if you have the little particles up in there. And that's the worst thing to have. It's the large, fluffy ones that you could work with. The small ones that get in between pockets. It's like plaque on a tooth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jennifer was 3 when she was diagnosed with high cholesterol.
3?
Yeah, 3 years old.
Oh, my God.
And know that, the hereditariness of it doesn't help either.
Yeah, if you want me to continue with some
go ahead,
with
babe.
some facts. I had came across an article that had 10 interesting facts about heart disease. Now, thank God Tracy is working out, babe. You doing your working out. A 10-minute brisk exercise will reduce heart attack by nearly 50%. Wow. And 30 minutes cuts the risk by 75%. And Dr. Artis did just say about exercising just a couple of minutes a day will add on, 2 hours into your life. And so, I mean, that's just awesome, just something that's simple, but they have to be brisk and get some cardio in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and then the other thing is that there's a 50% reduction in heart attack risks after 1 year after a smoker quits smoking.
Are you saying risk?
I thought she said Rick.
Oh, I'm like Rick.
Yeah,
I'm like, why are you saying me?
Risk.
So one of the things I was going to ask him before you get off of the phone was that back in the the 50s or 60s, I wanted to know if heart disease or heart risk is more now than it was then, because you didn't really have a lot of fast food places back then as you do now, and so I think now people are more adapting to eating fast food because we're so in a rush. And like he says, our European diet, how we eat compared to other countries, we are always in a rush. We're always running. We're always working late hours. And so we're not eating healthy. And so that does, cause the body, because we're not eating healthy, those hamburgers that we eat all the time, or that fried chicken that we eat all the time, or that food we eat outside, like, fries, all of that kind of food like that can be, systematic to the breakdown of your body.
Well, you know what, babe?
Yeah.
It says, contrary to popular belief, refined carbs, sugar, and processed foods, they are the real enemy. So our rate has went up, not the saturated fats found in foods such as butter, lard, and eggs.
But, I'm sorry, Brenda, you know what, though, does make a difference, too? I think that back then, even though we might have eaten healthier, think about how many people smoked and drank on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably more now, too. I mean, because back then in the 50s, I know I look at Twilight Zone one time, and everybody's smoking.
Yeah.
Everybody, but that was time that cigarettes, kind of got more popular, and they were trying to introduce it, and they did know that it was a risk, but, we took that risk. And I think we are a society that are more willing to take risks because we think that there's a magic pill out there that's going to help us, but we got all these side effects from the pills nowadays.
That's true. Too.
You could, your risk. You might be able to cure one thing, but you have a risk for another.
But that's with every medicine that they advertise on TV.
Yeah.
You notice the side effects. It's like, my God, what am I taking a pill for?
Exactly. But you know what also helped to decrease it, because you're absolutely right. It has decreased it. I'm thinking they're saying by 29% from 1980 to 1990. Well, it was a 25% decrease, and now we're down to a 29% decrease. But one of the reasons, too, that it has decreased is because we have gotten more technical with surgeries and the pacemakers and things like that.
The thing about it is that I think maybe what we're doing is we're saving more lives because of the technology.
Yes.
But more people are putting themselves at risk for heart disease or heart attack because of the way we eat.
Yeah.
Because
but the worst part about that, it costs so much money to eat healthy.
Yes.
And when we on the go, like one of our former guests that told us that when we're on the go and everything, first thing we do is pick up some fast food.
Yeah.
And that messes us up because it's all that processed food. And, you know, one of our great producers here by the name of Dia said, if you're going to eat McDonald's, eat a salad.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing, because it's like if you're going to eat fast food, eat a lot of greenery, you know, for the heart. You have to have that water and greenery.
But I'm sorry, Rick. He just made us realize, though, what we're doing to our children, because like you heard me say, my daughter was 3 years old when she was diagnosed with high cholesterol, is that we're thinking we're doing a good thing by giving them McDonald's, because I am that grandma. When I pick up the grandkids, it's like, let's go to McDonald's.
It's bad.
And we're giving them chicken nuggets, not salads and things. So, you know, we're actually working against ourselves for our children as they get older.
But, you know, kids are even requesting that, though. I think we was in the car with somebody, and we were somewhere, and the young lady said, you know, she was driving her kids home, and the little girl said, you know, Grandma, are you forgetting something? She says, what? Yeah, Lisa said that. She said, you're forgetting to go pick up our McDonald's, because they're thinking that way. But you said something that I'm not disagreeing with you, but I disagree with.
What's that?
Yes, it is more expensive to eat healthier, but we need to, if we want to live longer, cut back on some things that we don't need so we can live healthier. I mean, will you cut back on your cable so you can live a little healthier? Will you cut back on your entertainment so you can live a little healthier? Will you cut back on your, internet, on your telephone so you can live a little healthier? It's not that, eating healthy is something that's expensive. We are just misappropriating our money, that we're not using it to the things that is going to keep us alive.
And the thing with that is it's not our priority until it become a problem. And when it becomes a problem, we rushing to solve the problem. And unfortunately, it's a little too late, because like the doctor was saying, you need to start very early and just having a detection on heart prevention. And we don't even think about it, because when they say in your teens and 20s, you really need to pay attention to it. And in that age, we're thinking, I'm healthy as ox. Nothing wrong with me. We don't do nothing until there is a problem.
But we said something. I was talking to somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but we were saying that when we were teenagers, you didn't really have a lot of teenagers that was as obese as teenagers are now.
Yeah,
I mean, you see that, at my age when I was a teenager, I was fit. I could eat like a pig and still never gain any weight because I was running around, I was moving. And I think in a lot of cases, technology has hurt us, because now kids, they can stay home and have a good time. We had Pong, so we had to go out. After a ball hitting two lines, you could only look at that for so long. And you said, I got to go out and do something else. But now in society, kids are more apt to have heart disease or heart attacks than our generation, because we were outdoors doing something. We were more in activities. We were in social clubs. We played baseball. We played football. We played this. We played hockey. We played basketball. Girls were, running track or cheerleading, jump roping, something. But that's not happening anymore now.
But check this out. One of these interesting facts says spending more than 4 hours a day in front of a computer or television can double one's risk of a heart attack.
Really?
4 hours a day. Well, people have to work, and they work in front of a computer. But you think about with a child, they don't do the exercises no more. They don't do research no more. They don't go recess anymore. They don't go outside too much and play the way we did. That's why we stayed healthy, because we didn't have the technology that was distracting.
And it allows the body to be able to develop when you're out there as a teenager, because you're still going through a development age. So when we were outside running and stuff like that, the body was able to develop and realize that this is what the brain would realize. This is what this body wants to do. This is what this person wants to do. It wants to run. So the lungs would expand. Your blood, the oxygen or your oxidated blood would expand, because now you're moving and you're running and you're jumping and you're having fun. I mean, just going outside playing Simon Says or Follow the Leader, that was movement that we did. But now kids are spending, it's more than 4 hours. Granted, they're spending like maybe sometimes, I think the statistic said it was like 20, was it? How much? Deanna says 8 hours? 8 hours a day 8 hours a day. That's what I love about Deanna. 8 hours a day on the computer just playing. Now, if you look back to 8 hours a day that we was outside and we was afraid because we had to get in the house before the lights went off because Mom was about to whoop our behind, we were outdoors doing something. But now the kids are not. So now the body is not developing properly anymore. And it's just, it's decaying because now it's just sitting down doing nothing.
I got another known fact here. Now, we all know that genetics play a great role in this, but also we know blood pressure, which leads, like the doctor said, to other things. Physical activity, what we were just talking about, is so much of that lack of going on. Smoking and your diet. Another thing that they said that the best way to survive a heart attack is to recognize the symptoms. And a lot of people think, I feel like I'm coming down with a cold. This really shocked me. It says over 70% of women have flu-like symptoms and no chest pain at all, but they are prone to a heart attack.
Yeah, people don't take women as serious with heart attacks as they do men. That's a known fact.
And I always, why is that? If I say my chest is hurting,
Dr. Tracy, tell us.
we're going to ask the next doctor.
Yeah, we're going to ask the next.
Why is that?
So if I can just interject real quick to the listening audience, we did have our doctor, what was his name again? I'm sorry.
Dr. Andre Artis, cardiologist.
Yes, he was on the phone with us earlier, but however, he had to run to emergency surgery because someone was at the point was having a heart attack, I believe.
And he's saving a life.
And he was saving a life. So he was on the phone for us about maybe 5-6 minutes, but he had to leave. And so we want to thank him again for spending the time with us. Situations happen. We're excited that we have a man that is more concerned about saving a life than being on a radio show.
Right.
That's what we want the doctor to be. But we thank him very much that he did spend a little time with us. And so we're just running through the process of talking about the situation of heart healthy and being healthy. And so what is it about? Is it? Can we actually say that it's the child's fault that they're not as healthy now as it was when we were younger? Our parents made sure we ate, the right foods. You had to eat your vegetables. You couldn't. My mama made me sit at the table before I can still remember being on 1510 West 13th Street, apartment 402, and my mama would make me sit down at that table to eat it. She didn't know that I was wrapping it up in a piece of paper and throwing it out the window, but she made me sit down there and eat it.
Right.
Are parents doing that now, Tracy? Do you notice that with young kids?
We are not doing it. I'm going to say we because even when my kids were younger, I was a single mom for a long time, and it was like, all right, hurry up, throw something in the microwave, grab some fast food, sit down wherever you want to sit.
We didn't have a microwave growing up.
And eat whatever you want to eat. There were some days it was just like, I don't care what you eat. Eat cereal as long as you eat something because you're so tired and running. And even with the grandkids, I try to feed them a little healthy because you know better now. But like I say, it's always that, come on, Grandma, let's stop at McDonald's when you pick them up for the day, because you're treating them.
You're
your grandma now.
But this stems back so far back from slavery stuff as well, too.
Yep.
Because our bodies always got the leftover stuff that they didn't want, who they are, that they didn't want. And so we was eating the chitlins and different stuff that wasn't good for our bodies. So we was doing what we knew, what to do back then. We eat all that heavy lard food and stuff, and we pass on from generation to generation. But when you know better, you do better.
Right.
But in the era with our parents, it wasn't no microwave when we were smaller. It wasn't no everybody pick up something to eat when you can. It was everybody sitting at the table together and we're eating. And you had those vegetables that we didn't throw out the window. We ate those, we ate those vegetables. We did what we had to do because food, everything on that plate was clean. Whether you liked it or not, it's like, look, this is not a luxury. This is a necessity to get you where you're going. And I believe our parents try their best to give the children the correct food to help them. So I'm not blaming any parents, but I know right now it's hard out here.
Well, I am going to blame parents. You can say you're not, since you went to the Black History part of the thing.
But that's where it is.
I'm going
to
blame. That may have been true for maybe African Americans, but there is a heart epidemic problem in all races. But one of the things I can say that I'm blaming the parents because we live in a society where we're so fast paced and we're on the move that because of in the United States we want to be doing so many things in so many places. we have invented things that will allow us to do things quick, fast, in a hurry. I remember Jiffy popcorn. Now you've got, microwave popcorn.
Right.
You had to take the time to cook something, and you didn't just put in a TV dinner. Even a TV dinner, you had to put it in an oven. It was processed. It was kind of processed food, but it was better processed food than we have now.
Was it?
But the more and more we've developed, I mean, if you look at a chicken McNugget now, I don't know if there's a chicken in a nugget. I don't know what that
really,
food
you don't know
is.
what that meat is.
But if you look at it now, society, because of technology, we moved farther and farther to making things quicker, fast, in a hurry. What we did was we caused ourselves to be more of a hard risk candidate because the food that we're trying to process, we've got to make sure that it's capable of being processed. So there's more sodium in it. There's so much byproducts in it to allow it to be processed, to allow it to last longer. And so it's causing an issue because what we're doing is we're getting it faster, but we're not getting healthier food. We're not getting fresh food. We're not doing the things that we need to live healthy. And unfortunately, I'll say most people don't want to help with Michelle Obama trying to get people to live healthier. They're all upset about that because what it's doing is that the people who are making money off of us being unhealthy are upset. Mm-hmm. And the people who are making money off of you trying to live healthy are upset. That's why you got so many now people making these, health, products or workout products and doing this and workout because they know that the fad is trying to be healthy against an unhealthy lifestyle. But if we could just be a society that just says, "Hey, I'm going to change the curriculum. I'm going to change the pattern here," since I can't say the word that I'm trying to say. Curriculum here, yeah. I'm going to make sure that healthier food is cheaper and unhealthy food is expensive.
Which makes sense,
right? But you know what's going to happen? Unhealthy food is going to go away because nobody's going to spend that much money to eat something unhealthy.
I beg to differ. Just like with the cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you, and see, that's the smart, clever way that they're doing is they tell you smoking can cause cancer. Smoking can cause heart attack. They're telling you up front what it can do, but people still buy it.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't want to stop you. What they don't tell you is smoking is habitual, and it'll cause you to be addicted to it. Because
true.
that's what it is. It's just like a drug. You can't stop smoking it because of the nicotine. Mm-hmm. Of course, tell somebody they can't do something. We're like children. We're going to do it. But what happens is that nicotine starts getting into our system, and we've got to have it. Yeah. Not me, because I've never smoked, but that's what happens.
Well,
now, on the other end, I can stop eating a burger if I know that it's going to cause me to die. If it's like, hey, I don't want to die. I don't want to get diabetes. I don't want to get high blood pressure. I don't want all this.
Would you stop with chocolate? Because that's an addiction.
Well, see, I don't eat that much chocolate.
You just give it to everybody.
Yeah,
Tracy looking at you like,
I don't. I really don't eat that much chocolate. I used to eat a lot of chocolate, but I don't now.
He's an enabler.
But
yeah.
But what's happening now is that the older I've gotten and the wiser I realize. Hey, I'm 55 years old. I'm about to get ready to turn, to 60 in a couple of years, 5 to be exact. I don't want to limit my life. If I can sit there and do 10 minutes of work that's going to increase my life, or I can eat a burger that's going to decrease my life, at 55, you start to get a little bit smarter and wiser. And that's what I hope what people would do.
I hope so. Hey, I'm gonna say this as a riddle. Riddle me this real quick. They say the best way to survive a heart attack is to recognize the symptoms. You call 911 and you chew, not swallow, an aspirin while waiting. Why is that? I was always thinking, they always advertise that bear thing, swallow that aspirin. I didn't know you have to chew it. And my first thought was, oh, my God, that's so nasty.
It goes down. You crushed it up, so you're not swallowing it, waiting for it to dissolve.
Right,
when
it dissolves faster. I have been taking aspirin on an irregular basis for about maybe 5 years now.
You're just taking it every day?
Yeah, just not every day, but even if I feel something that doesn't seem right, I'll take an aspirin and I'll chew an aspirin. Just because if I've got a pain, I'm like, okay, I don't like this pain, I'm chewing an aspirin because I know that they tell you, in some regimens they tell you to take a low dose aspirin a day that will help to fight against heart attacks. But for me, you know, I start taking, because if I got a pain in my arm or something like that, or a pain in my neck, I'm like, hey, heart attack, aspirin. You know, my mind is thinking that, right? Hey, let me tell you something. You don't die but once. Okay?
Right.
So
I want to do this
I
one
want to
last
live. Go
fact
ahead.
before we go to a commercial break. They said stress is considered an underlying factor in 70% of heart disease. Research shows that one single episode of anger increases the risk of heart attack. Guess by how much percent?
45%.
50.
Go up.
70?
65.
Higher.
What is it, Brenda?
230%.
Oh, Jesus.
That ain't even no real number. Okay.
They using some numbers. I'm like, wow. So we need to, you know, stretch anger management, just go on and calm ourselves down. But again, want to say thank you for Dr. Artis, who took the time to be on our show. Stay with us, listeners, and thank you for staying with us in a little confusion today. And next coming up is POV by Donna Terrell.
Good evening. The Let's Stay Together show presents Point of View by Donna Terrell.
My first introduction to Black history came from my white fourth grade teacher. Mrs. Williams was wonderful. She had so many great ideas, and she sparked such creativity in the class. One day, Mrs. Williams breaks out this book, Great Negroes, Past and Present. Every day we would learn about a different great Negro. All this was new to me. At the time, I knew about Dr. King because that was a recent situation. My father had me read a book about him. But through Mrs. Williams and her book, I learned about people like Phyllis Wheatley. In 1773, she was the first black woman to publish a book of poems. Matthew Henson, he was an explorer, and along with other team members, was the first to discover the North Pole in 1908. Daniel Hale Williams, one of the first doctors to perform open-heart surgery in the United States and founder of Providence Hospital right here in Chicago. And then we had to pick one of the great Negroes and write a poem about him. Afterwards, Mrs. Williams made copies of all the poems, and we all compiled them into our own poetry book about those admirable people. That was so cool. As Black History Month draws to a close, I want to salute Mrs. Williams, a white teacher who took the time to introduce her little black fourth graders to their history. She was the kind of teacher who believed that we too could be great. For Let's Stay Together, this is Point of View by Donna Terrell.
Welcome back to the Let's Stay Together talk show. Now here is your host, Reverend Rick McCain and author Brenda McCain.
Hey, welcome back. Tonight's show is about healthy heart recognition. We have two great doctors lined up to give us some quality information about how to maintain a healthy heart, prevent heart disease, and some healthy tips going on. But right now, we are going to talk about motivational mojo coming up.
We're going to come on the motivational mojo again. We want to thank
Dr. Andre
Artis, who was on the show with us for a few minutes, talking about the next stop, and he went to emergency heart surgery before we could end the interview. We'll definitely have him back on again to talk about this segment. But right now, we're going to have Dion take us to Motivational Mojo.
If you're hearing this music, that means it's time for Motivation Mojo. Listen right now as Brenda McCain will give you the Motivational Mojo of the day. You can win movie tickets. Go to Facebook or our website. Now, Brenda McCain will tell you more about today's Motivation Mojo.
Motivational Mojo. What motivates you to stay faithful in your relationship? Whether you are married or single, it takes commitment and teamwork to build a strong relationship. Nowadays, people seem so shocked when they hear that a couple has been dating exclusively for over a year, or if a couple has been married 10 years or more. It always tickles me when we get asked, how long have we been married? And we tell them it will be 22 years. The look on their faces is priceless, and the questions behind that are even more pondering. What is the secret? How do you stay faithful, and why? My answer to that is, I love God and I love my husband, and this marriage isn't about Rick and me. It's about displaying the love of a covenant marriage. Now, these are my reasons. What are yours? Is it A, you love him or her? B, your religion? C, your financial resources? D, it is the way you were raised. Whatever your reasons, talk back to us and Facebook us your motivational mojo to why you stay faithful in your relationship. If we like your post, you will be eligible to win movie tickets. But you must listen to win.
You have been listening to Motivation Mojo. To win tickets, Facebook us now at Let's Stay Together Talk and tell us what motivates you. We will announce the winner at the end of the show.
All right. That's Motivational Mojo. And we want to know from you, what's the thing we want to know, baby? We want to know what keeps you motivated in your relationship.
What motivates you to stay faithful
in your
relationship.
Wow. So it was so nice that she sat there and said she loves God and she loves her husband. That was so sweet.
You thought I was going to say?
I doubt you just going to say I love God. My husband, all right, but I love God.
Yeah,
but you know what? It's what we want to know from you all. So come on Facebook, the Let's Stay Together Talk, and let us know what keeps you motivated or faithful in your relationship. And you can win movie tickets. We can send movie tickets anywhere around the world. We still got to find out what the heck is happening with Kansas ticket that we sent through Fandango, but we'll get that resolved. But we want to know what motivates you. So I know Tracy is working on something over there, and so Brenda's already told her what motivates her. So, again, my motivation for me is, of course, is going to be God, because my thing is always honoring God in everything I do. And a marriage is a covenant, and that covenant has three people in it. It has the husband, the wife, and the leader of that marriage is God. And so I always want to, do what God has called me to do. Now I'm going to use a scripture that doesn't seem to fit, but I'm going to fit it. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he leaves, he won't depart from that training. So now God has trained his children the way they should go. And so one of those things is to be devoted in the covenant of your marriage. And so my thing is that I want to be devoted in the covenant of my marriage because my Father has trained me to be so. And so since he has trained me to be that way, I want to be obedient to his training. Therefore, if I'm obedient to his training, he will continuously to provide for me and care for me because I'm obedient to everything that he does. And so that is my essential part. Now, I have been a devoted husband for 21, going on 22 years, and that has nothing to do with Rick McCain because I'm human just like any other man. But because I don't want to fail God, keeps me in a situation where I'm always in the covenant in my relationship. Now, I happen to love my wife immensely. Very beautiful young lady, more beautiful now than when I met her. And I love being with her. What I have done in my life is that I ask God to always cause me to love what you have given me, that I can continuously love what you have given me for my whole entire life. And I've asked God to never allow anything to cause me not to have that love. So I never said that it was me. I said, God, you provide in me what I need to love so I can be obedient to the training that you've given me.
Yes.
So, Tracy, what causes you to be faithful in your relationships? You got some girls that you probably want to throw out sometimes.
You know what? When I was married, it was very important to me to be faithful in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And again, first of all, it was my religious upbringing. And I did love the person very much. but it was also the way I was raised, you know. And now, as a single woman, going back in when I go back into a relationship, it would still be those things, because it's very important to me that you love that person enough to want to be faithful to them, and that you always remember to keep God first in that relationship. And, you know, you should not commit adultery or anything. And like you said, it's just your upbringing, and that's how I want my girls, you know, to go into a relationship too. So I'm kind of a combination of all three. Finances was totally not even a thing that would have kept me in.
Yeah.
If not, I'd have been gone.
You got anything you want to add to your statement?
You know what? Like Tracy says, basically all three of them. You know, a lot of people now just see that they could discard a marriage now. Oh, I don't like him today. He's getting on my nerves. It's not worth the fight to them because it's so easy to get a divorce.
Yeah.
I'm old school from the upbringing of the grandparents and the parents. They stuck it out and fought it out. You know, it was like, look, we in this to the end, and I admire that. You know, to death do us part really meant something. That's something that I could say, I'm sticking with that. So you're stuck to me, Rick. Like glue, whether sometimes we angry with each other, it's like we know we're not going nowhere. We want this marriage to work. But a lot of people just don't seem like they get that to me. It's so easy to say, hey, I tried it. It's been 4 months. What did you try? You know, you haven't gave it a chance. But whatever your reasons are to being faithful, share with us on Facebook, because I would love to get some feedback on that.
So now, is this being faithful in a relationship, or a marriage relationship?
Any relationship, because it stems. You know, I always say when I was dating someone, I was faithful to that person I was dating.
Yeah.
That's truly the thing where it begins, that you close one door before you open another. You don't be messy with stuff.
And so you could be faithful to a friendship. You know, you could be faithful to that.
But we are talking about singles dating in a relationship and marriage.
Okay, and so we're not going to the friendship part.
No.
But yes, definitely, you know, Facebook, because you can win some movie tickets for that. I'm just excited to know that, you know, people are still trying to be faithful. We have a lot of people on Facebook, when they see our post, they like it, they like it, they like it. I sometimes wonder, do they read it? Do they read it? Do they read it? Because it's basically saying, you know, to text us back so you can win. And it's like, I know, you know, we're starting off with movie tickets. We might get you, the whole theater one day. Who knows? But we, you know,
as much as a movie costs, people would be grateful.
You know, and so I think a lot of times people are not reading the stuff. So for our listening audience, please go into our Facebook, Let's Stay Together Talk, read the Motivational Mojo, comment on what keeps you faithful in your relationship, and when we see that comment is out there, you can win movie tickets. Excuse me. We're going to go on to Meet the McCains. And so last time when we talked about this, we kind of talked about where Brenda was upset with me. Yeah, ain't that a shame? You know, and she was upset about the fact that, you know, we were looking at the house, and I just stepped into the door, and I said, this is the house that God is going to give us, and she hadn't even walked into the door yet. And that's true, automatically true. When I first stepped into the door, God said, this is the house that I'm going to give you. And when I told Brenda that before she walked into the door, she's like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know what God you talking to, but I ain't seen the house yet. And so she was a little bit upset about it. And so, you know, we got into the car. I think I mentioned this. The person was working with the agent said, maybe you all should look at some other cars. And I said, maybe you all didn't hear me. Huh?
What did you say? Some other cars?
I'm sorry, some other houses. Did I say car? I mean, look at some other houses. Maybe we need to look for cars too. Look at other houses before you make the decision. And I said, you know, maybe you didn't hear me. God told me this is the house that we're going to have. And so today's segment of Meet the McCains is going to be Echoes versus McCain. Because at the time that we were talking about this, Brenda was not married to me yet. And you'd have to make the decision comment on it. After I told you that, and I said this is the house that we was gonna get, did your mind think that you was gonna remain in Echoes for a while?
Because I thought he was crazy. I was like, God didn't. I said, God didn't speak to me. I mean, now I know God don't have to speak to you, and he gave the head of the house to be. He whispered something in his spirit, but not in mine. But I really was upset by that because I'm like, we really haven't looked at a lot of houses. I think we have probably seen about 4 or 5, and you was ready to make a quick decision. I'm like, but if this is the house I'm going to spend my life in with you, or at least the beginning of it, I want something that I like. I want to see the house. I didn't even get one toe in the house.
But and I can understand that some people will be, upset about that. And I think we've got some, people who wrote back on there said they was upset about it. And so now we're in the situation where we're having Echoes versus McCain, because now she's upset with me and she wanted to continue to look at some houses. And so what was on your mind at that point when we were driving back? Because I forgot her name, but the woman was with us.
I forgot.
She was saying, maybe you all should talk about this. And she got out the car. And if I remember, I don't even think you wanted to talk to me. You were just mad.
I didn't.
Like, I can't believe you did that, And I can understand, the first relationship that you're getting into, you want to, make a decision together.
I'm going to say this to you. In the car, I remember saying, I love him, but I don't love him that much for him to make that big of a decision.
Wow.
And I meant that. I was so mad because I didn't talk to you that night. I remember going home and sharing that with my mom. And my mom actually saved you.
No, your mom saved you.
No, she saved you in my eyes because she has said, Brenda, he's a man of God. And if God is speaking to him, he don't have to speak to you. And I, me being me, looking at Mama.
Always love my mama.
Oh, please. I remember looking at Mama, and I was mad at her because I'm like, Mom, really, if Daddy pulled that on you, and she did say that wouldn't happen because, see, the thing was, Daddy wasn't a man of God. Sorry, Daddy, love you. But he wasn't a man of God, and she was always a spiritual woman. So when they went house hunting, she more so, this is what I need because if I'm going to be running the house, she needed to know that. But when she said that, she just said, pray on it. And, I stayed mad at you a while because I really want to say, we did look at other houses after
I think
that.
we did look at other.
I was gonna ask
we
you
did
that.
look at other houses just to appease her.
Okay.
And, none of them was right because we didn't tell them when we did get in the house. I still was upset because I was trying to find everything wrong with that house. They got green carpet. The dining room is brown. It's ugly. They got a black wall. Everything.
They had some carpet down there that looked like it was from the 1950s. I was waiting for them to say, Monday, Sunday, happy day, because it was really old. But, I just know when I'm going to tell you all the honest God truth. When I walked into that house, it was just like a spirit of God spoke to me. And the words was clear as day. This is the house that I'm going to give you. Almost like someone was speaking in my ear. And it was like, wow, it's that feeling of God saying that I'm showing you what I'm about to give you, that he's already predicting how your future is going to be. I know you're looking for houses, but this is the house that I'm going to give for you. And so we had a little issue, about that because, Brenda is a little bit more, calmer now. We call her Betty Shabazz, joking around because that's the, the radical part of her. Brenda, 20-some-odd years ago, was even more radical. She would have given Beyonce that power-up hand stuff like that. She'd have gave her a run for her money back then because she would speak her mind and then some, And so I'm like, okay, God, this is the house you're going to give me. This is the woman you're gonna give me to?
Yes, I need to. Wow, Rick, you act like I'm rough.
You were. She was very opinionated. She would tell you what she thought, and she let me know that she was not happy with me on that decision that I made. But and I can understand that. But I was very firm in that decision. I usually don't make decisions like that. Even today, most of the decisions that we make, Brenda does make. There are some things that I make it to sit now. The radio show is another vision that God gave me.
I was looking at
the radio show is another.
He talking to
the radio show was a vision that God gave me, and you two hard-headed people had to just follow. But because of that, it was one of our first major arguments. And so what I really wanted to talk about, just real briefly, is just how you handle those kind of arguments. So, Brenda, talk a little bit about how we would handle that kind of argument today, being more mature Christians, than what we should have done then?
Okay, I have to backtrack. Back then, Betty Shabazz, a.k.a. Brenda Eccles, a.k.a. Betty Shabazz, was shut down, say what she had to say, very opinionated, and be like, you are right. But anyway, now I actually pray about stuff before I come to you. Then I didn't. But now it's like, because we know each other's personality, our buttons and stuff. I pray about a lot of things before I even bring it to you, and praying that it does not be an argument, but more of a discussion that we could actually solve. Because you're probably against it, don't like to go to bed angry. Because I remember one time you said sometimes you can't solve everything in one night. But with me, it's not sweeping it under the carpet. It is for me just want to get that situation over with before we go to the next one. I want to just clean house with something.
Yeah, only thing I could say is for me, I would stay with my decision, but I know at that time I probably wasn't as, I didn't bring it to you the right way. I should have brought it to you in a more softer way, other than maybe in a demanding way. This is the house that God's going to give us.
And when he
this
does
is where
that,
we're going to go.
See, when you do stuff like that, it does.
I don't do that anymore.
When you do stuff like that, it makes me react that way. When he come hard, I come hard.
I see that,
and then Rick always say, but that's how it was back then. When you came to me hard, I bucked up and came hard too. Because it's like, I'm not that girl that you think, which most people think, she can't bust a grape or anything. I'm that girl going to go toe-to-toe. You come to me that way, I'm going to go toe-to-toe with you. It's not going to be okay.
It's almost like Muhammad Ali Frazier.
Seriously, that's how it is. But now it's different. Rick always say, I like the softer approach of you. Come to me in a softer way. I would be that feminine lady that you want, that wife that was always submissive and would want to do stuff. It's a difference when you want to do for your husband versus, God, I feel like an obligation. I got to do that. I don't never want to feel like that.
Yeah, and so, the thing about it is that, we've both learned that we could have handled the situation better. Although God had spoken to me, I didn't have to be so, demanding or dictating on the answer. This is not what we're going to do. I could have also said, hey, baby, let's pray that we're in agreement with what God has given me, instead of not doing it. And so what we're just basically telling people is that, if you're in a situation where you're having a major argument, take the time to pray about it and work together with that situation, where you're not going to allow that situation to dictate how your marriage goes forward. Now, there was something that happened that made Brenda decide that maybe she is with a man of God. Not just her mama saving me to be with her. And I thank Mama for that, because, that's one thing I could say about Mama, Echo Seals now. She is always a level-headed Christian that's going to give, good advice. And I'm glad she did that, with her daughter at that time. But something happened during the course of us looking for houses and making the decision on that house, that Brenda actually found out that maybe, just maybe, this is a man of God, and God did tell him about this house. Ooh. And, of course, we'll bring that back to you next week on Meet the McCain.
All right.
Hey, so we're going to, this is my time to talk right now. We're going to go to Inspirational Corner. And Inspirational Corner is my turn this time. All right. I get a chance to talk on the radio. So
really,
one of the things that inspired me is a friend of mine that I met, and I call this Inspirational Corner not being short on love. And I bring this up because I met this friend of mine. His name is Jeff Short. And we just happened to meet each other on the bus going to work. And, it doesn't matter, but it does matter what I'm about to say. I'm African-American, and Jeff is Caucasian.
It's not.
He's not. He's Caucasian. But because we both found out that we were Christian brothers, we start sharing with each other. And so one of the things that I found out about Jeff and his wife, Joan, is that they've done something that I think that is very incredible, even in this day now. They had 3 children, but they decided to adopt 3 African-American children. And I know sometimes, people say, well, I don't like that. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't care. And I know that sounds bad, but I'm excited that there were children out there that somebody wanted. And there's so many children out there that people don't want. And here is a family that cares enough about a child. Now, you know what you got to go through nowadays if you adopt out of your race. Right. And unfortunately, the Let's Stay Together show is a show that tells the truth. Adopting an African-American child is not the biggest thing that happens with other races. And so for them to do that is an awesome thing. And they show these children so much love. And Jeff, to me, is like the ultimate example of a godly man. I mean, he's got God written all over him. He's just a wonderful, godly man. And for that family to go through the trials and tribulations that they've had to go through and raise those children, to me, shows that this is a godly family that's not short on love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I met the couple. They are beautiful and fun. And I love it when you're with different race couple people and it's all one race, the human race that takes over, and the Christianity that we share. Because I was just at I think it was his daughter's wedding last year.
Oh, so pretty.
I was so tickled when I seen his children. I'm like, man, they just get along with everybody.
I didn't know you were at that wedding. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's almost like our baby girl, little Elizabeth.
Yeah. Because Jonah was on the show.
Yeah, they're on the show. Yeah.
They are just so down to earth with everything. And the fact is, when we're together with them, it is inspiring to see that, because sometimes, it is, like Rick said, a lot of people don't want to adopt black kids.
No, they don't.
And we're the last ones on the totem pole. They go every other race except the black kids. And it used to bother me, but then when I finally met a couple that does this, it's like, wow, you know what? This is great to see this. It's great to see that the kids interact with them as if they're their own race. They see no color. The color is just blind in that house when we're around them. And it does inspire me to just, continue to treat people nice. Let's treat them better than what they treat us, some people. And I'm not just saying the Caucasian race, because you treat people the way you want to be treated. It goes back biblically to what we're talking about. But just to see that, it was awesome. Loved it.
They are definitely the example of godly love and what God calls you to do. And he said that this is what God had called him to do. And he followed that, And I Jeff is a great example to me. I love being around him because he just shows that, you don't have to be short on love. You can show all the love that God has called you to show.
All right now.
I do want to say something real quick.
You can say something real
quick.
A
young lady that went to our old church, she had adopted a little white girl, and people dogged her out.
That's so rare.
Yeah, but let me tell you how this happened. Many African kids out here, you going to go adopt a white one? We got all these kids that need home. And someone threw this baby out. She found this baby in the trash. Wow. And when she took it to wherever you take the kids to, the lady just said, do you want to fight to keep the baby? At first she said no. And then she was like, why not? I'll raise this baby, And to this day, the baby, I think, is 3 now. She still got that baby raised, and she's still taking slack off for our race.
And
I'm like,
it's unfortunate.
You,
wow. It's unfortunate that we think that way. Yeah, there are a lot of African American babies out there that need to be adopted, but that doesn't mean because I'm African American I have to adopt an African American child. Don't put me in a stigma that I've got to do what you want me to do. I'm going to do what I feel or what God has called me to do.
Right, what God
I think I don't even think it's about, like you say, what race. I just want to adopt a child. Mm-hmm. And nowadays it's so hard, to even do that. Kids of different races. I mean, you take what kid loves you and what kids you love and, you make it work. Mm-hmm. People got to stop seeing color and just see people.
Yeah, I will be glad when we get into a world where we can be the Jeff Shorts and the Jones Shorts of the world, where we can sit down. Like Brenda said, when we sit down together with them, other people might be looking at us, but to us, we're just Christian people having a good time with each other. And
we eat well together.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. I mean, a lot of people don't know my sister-in-law is white. You know, and I just love their faces when they're, you know, people are like, oh, the white people this, the white people that. And I said, oh, have you met my sister-in-law? And they're like, oh, you know, but we don't even think about her being white, you know, until it comes up. You know, you don't even think about it. Yeah. So we just got to see people for who they are.
Yeah.
So for Inspirational Corner, I want to thank Jeff and Joan Short for definitely not being short on love. You have inspired the Let's Stay Together show.
Yes, they have. Stay tuned with us in our second hour of Making Marriage Work segment. We will be talking to Dr. Cornelius A. Rogers from Advocate Health Care will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. So stay tuned.
We're going to go to Something You Should Know.
Good evening. This is Reverend Rick McCain with Something You Should Know. Have you ever had someone crush your dreams, telling you what you're dreaming about will never work? Are you struggling with finishing that book, getting your dream business, project, or idea going? Are you afraid that all of your work will amount to another failed venture? If this is you, then there's something you should know. Even if your dreams have been deferred, don't give up on the vision God has placed within you. Sometimes life gets in the way of what God has anointed us to do. But that is when we need to launch out into the deep and reconnect with God. When Peter toiled all night fishing and caught nothing, Jesus told him to go a little deeper. Peter was frustrated, tired, and felt maybe Jesus didn't understand that he was an experienced fisherman. But he said, because you say so, I will let down my net. And he caught so many fish that the net began to break. Peter's outcome changed because he was able to overlook his past failures and have faith in Jesus. When you are struggling with your dreams, remember to launch out to Jesus. He will help you to rediscover your pathway of success and provide a breakthrough that will be exceedingly and abundantly more than you can ask or think. So, if your dreams have been deferred, don't be like Mike. Be like Peter and say, because you say so, I will. This is Reverend Rick McCain with Something You Should Know.
UrbanBroadcastMedia.com, Chicago.
And around the world where your voice is heard. This is UBM Talk.
Welcome back to the Let's Stay Together talk show. Now here is your host, Reverend Rick McCain and author Brenda McCain.
All right, welcome back to the Let's Stay Together show. I'm your host, Reverend Rick McCain. I'm your host.
Right. Don't say that.
What am I? I'm your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo, my covenant partner, Brenda McCain. Thank you very much for listening with us. And we're about to go to a different segment. I think Dion said our caller is on the line. So, baby, introduce our new caller for Making Marriage
Work. We have Dr. Cornelius A. Rogers from Advocate Health Care on the line. How you doing, doctor?
I'm doing great.
Oh, well, you sound great. You still there?
It's been a good day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a great day.
Hey, so we're hoping we've got you for the 15 minutes because we had another doctor on there that had to leave us because he had a heart surgery. So we hope we're going to have you for the remaining of the time. So what we want to talk about a little bit with you is just, heart healthiness, but in a kind of a marriage kind of relationship of two couples understanding the need to be concerned about each other and their conditioning.
Well, marriage is a team. It works better if, done in a teamwork fashion. Let me put it that way. And so that's diet. It consists of diet. And typically when you're doing dieting and dietary planning, you're shopping. You're at least making some. You probably be nice to have both people on a diet plan, so you're getting the same groceries for both of you. So that process is, so having some consistent working together relationship on that would be good from a heart perspective. And your activities, should probably, can be more heart healthy related, talking about exercise and probably the avoidance of situations that like smoke-filled rooms, things like that. If you like to hang out there's probably smoke-filled rooms. I guess nowadays there are less of those in public places, but that's clearly not good health. Heart, if you're thinking from a heart perspective, not probably a good plan. And then there's rest, and so working together and being on the same page is probably, I guess it's almost obvious. It's probably a good thing to do.
Dr. Rogers, question for you: what are some heart healthy diet plans or foods should we avoid?
A lot easier question actually than foods to eat, because I would say fatty foods, processed meats. That would be just to start a simple answer. It's sweets, the pastries.
You mean all sweets?
Not all sweets, but in moderation, everything in moderation. But donut a day is not exactly a good plan. We do that, but sometimes. But sometimes, I would say, sometimes if you, as some people say, if you party by night, you'll pay by day. And so somewhere along the line, you're going to have to pay your dues. And so if you eat bad, if you can, make some comeback on that, restrict something else, exercise more perhaps, so there's, it's not an absolute don't eat it, but it's probably, like I say, in moderation is probably the best process.
So talk to me a little bit
approach,
about,
I should say.
You were saying about, it's better to talk about the foods that you should eat. Tell us a little bit about the foods that we should eat and some of the reasons why we should eat that to remain with a healthy heart.
Well, you want to probably avoid, and this is kind of hard to, I like to put it into, let me approach from a category perspective. Let's talk about milk and in the dairy category. If you're going to do in that category, you want to avoid 2% or whole milk. So evaporated skim milk, yes, and yogurt from skim milk or skim milk is probably going to be a better low-fat, more of a low-fat, low-cholesterol form of, in that category.
What about the not the coconut milk? What about
wait a minute? We talking
walnut,
about the ones we should
milk.
be eating, right?
No, I'm actually the ones the ones recommended would be skim or 1%. Avoid 2% or whole milk.
Almond?
Well, I can say I'm not exactly sure about that. I can tell you that coconuts can actually be a problem. So if they're, and I'm not sure what that's. I don't think people talk about coconut milk or so like that. Coconuts can be a problem. But I'm not sure about almonds. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Okay, Dr. Rogers, you just blew me away. How about avocados? Are they good?
Avocados are probably, actually, I'm probably hedging on that. Probably not, actually, but probably not, actually. I'm going to say, I'm going to put in the probably not category. They don't talk a lot about in terms of heart-healthy avocados, but I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah, you blowing it, man.
So let me ask you this, Doctor. I know you have sometimes where we're not going to go through the whole list of foods you shouldn't and should eat because we'd be on here all day with him. But I will say this: you have a family is going in, a husband and a wife, and most of the times it's the hard-headed man that's not eating the right way, and the wife is in there with them. How do you help them to discover the best way to maintain their heart?
Well, if you're talking about, well, you're right. Actually, to some extent, although believe it or not, I have a number of patients men, patients that'll come in and they'll tell me they have to sort of avoid some of the things that their significant other or spouse is, their plans, and they're actually, believe it or not, sometimes more focused. But whoever you're talking to, because sometimes you don't have the opportunity to talk to both of the couple. Whoever you're talking to, you advise them and you're giving them some written information, so that and you can tell them where their direction should be. And a lot of times you typically, with a lot of things, you have to change yourself first. You have to work on yourself without going in and trying to get the other person to do something. So, you can encourage, but too much encouragement, you can, wind up being an irritant, and a person would turn you off. Your spouse or significant other would turn you off. So, first of all, the person has to work with themselves. So, you start telling a person what to do, the other person, and you're not doing it yourself, your credibility will go down. So, the best thing is to start with yourself and do it and encourage and be supportive. And when you see that person that willing to get up and go for a walk with you and do that, encourage them. But, you got to go for a walk. You got to get on the bike. Wow. And so, I guess I would say fortunately, probably, I have typically only one person to deal with, even though that other person is in the picture, and that person may often tell me they would like to get their spouse to do some of those things. I usually advise them to do the healthy thing themselves.
Well, I'm going to tease you here, Dr. Rogers.
Okay,
I think the lovely wife name is Sherry, is it?
It is.
Okay,
yes.
So she's on board with you, or you on board with her, and all you do to keep a strong, healthy heart, right?
Well, we kind of probably, kind of wax and wanes a little bit, so I'm probably more consistently the exercise person, and she's more consistently the probably, believe it or not, eats better. And she's a physician also, so we're both kind of moving around, and we weren't doing very well. So what we actually were fortunate enough to have a chef prepare food for a couple of, for two.
I'm telling we got to come to your house.
Right, dinner tomorrow, your house.
Teach us how to eat right, Dr. Cornelius.
We talked to the chef and told her what we were looking for, and for 4 days of the week she'll prepare 2 meals, and she was actually coming by initially as she got started. Was preparing them at the house on Tuesday, but then now she's actually, I guess, it has expanded and prepares them in her kitchen.
Oh, wow!
So yeah, that's. But what we were doing, coming home at one point, after work and not cooking, and then going doing the fast food things. And actually, reality, if you do that consistently, you're not actually doing it yourself at home. Economically is actually not that much different because you spend a lot of money going out, buying out, and traveling. So it's probably actually, believe it or not, slightly more expensive. But if you're not at home preparing that food, of course that's the least expensive. But if you're not doing that, then it's healthier probably to contract with somebody to do that, and in that way we'll be eating better, and like I say, it's actually not that much different. Yeah.
Dr. Cornelius, this is Tracy here, and I wanted to ask you a question about exercising with your spouse. I know that's a really hard thing to do sometimes, especially if you're not both on the same level. So do you ever exercise with your wife or encourage couples to exercise together?
That is actually it's a good thing if you can, but it can be frustrating if you're on a different level. Years ago, I did a lot of bike riding, and when I rode, I almost called it the ride with the spouse a charity ride. I know. I didn't say that. With the fellas, you say that one. It's a charity ride.
Right. I'm the only one that heard you.
Okay. But it's not that ride that you get out there where you're really going, and it's more of you're kind of going at a different pace. So a slower pace if you're not with somebody who's at that level. So what I would say is, where I would do that would do the I'm gonna say it one more time, the charity ride, but then have some other time where you do the ride that you do. So if that's what you like to do, it's good to do it together because it's a good exercise and it's fun, and it doesn't always have to be grueling, and you don't have to be training for the Olympics every time you get on the bike. So, so I would say just do some things together and then do your own thing. You do it at your pace. And that way you're not frustrated, you're not discouraged from doing it, and you're not complaining, about, you're not pushing the other person to try to do something that, maybe they can't do, because who are you to say that they can do that and should do that? What we did was actually, one of the things was we did some time with a personal trainer, and we would both work with our trainer individually. We did some a Zumba class regularly, and that was something that I wasn't real good at, and neither one of us were had all the Zumba moves. You have to learn the Zumba moves.
Yeah.
And personal trainer. Yeah. I am jealous. Introduce me to a
But
friend.
you know what, babe? You're going to jump in right now.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say, you're listening to Let's Stay Together show. We're talking to Dr. Cornelius Rogers on Making Marriage Work. And, Doctor, I want to ask you this question real quick. I want you to go to a two-part for me. I want you to help couples or anyone, actually, with the prevention of being concerned about a heart attack, and help those who have had a heart attack what things that they should do to make sure or to help ease the possibility of another heart attack coming.
Okay, I heard you say that first the prevention, and some of the risk factors that you want to address are your cholesterol level, whether or not you smoke, whether or not you have high blood pressure, and the blood pressure being controlled or not controlled. So you want to control those factors, and you want to, I would say, exercise in the terms of just improve your circulation and your blood flow, and that keeps the blood flowing through all your body parts. So exercise and keeping moving, stretching. And weights are actually, some people don't say they don't like weights, but weights are actually good to increase your muscle mass, and that's helpful to increase your metabolism. So, if there's weight issues, you can manage your weight, although weight is not necessarily a risk factor for heart disease. So, cholesterol management, blood pressure management, smoking, those are, the known clear, documented risk factors for heart disease.
Before you go to the other part, you shocked me with something. Weight is not a contributing factor for heart attacks? I mean, because most people think if you're overweight, that can cause pressure on your heart. So could you explain that a little bit to our listening audience?
Well, what I would say to that is, as an individual risk factor for heart disease, it's not, but it tends to be related to other things like a high cholesterol, like perhaps diabetes. You more tendency to have diabetes. I didn't mention that one also too, which can lead to artery disease. So in a sense that it is more associated with those other things that lead to it, then that's probably why you see that as that. But independently, a person that's overweight could have a normal cholesterol level, not smoke, have good blood pressure, and that happens often. And you see people, And one of the reasons, probably from a heart perspective, you see people that are in their 80s and 90s that are overweight. They don't have that artery disease. They may have other problems that, and like I say, those things are more associated with, you see them associated with high blood pressure and diabetes, but they themselves, a person that doesn't have that is not necessarily any more likely to have, heart disease and artery disease. Just from the, let's say, obesity diagnosis and perspective itself, it's through the association with other things perhaps, but not just independently from that.
Hey, I've got a question that's coming from someone from our Facebook audience. I've got actually a text. It says, will you ask the doctor about heart for the senior person? How is their functions different? She wants to know about, the heart for a senior person compared to someone maybe a little younger age.
Well, as you age, the heart and arteries become more rigid. So you might see one of the levels, the systolic or the upper level, be a little bit higher than, and maybe more difficult to control as you get older because of the rigidity of the muscles, and the heart is a muscle, and it becomes not as flexible as you get older. But the fact that it's almost like, as I say, with obesity and heart disease, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can have somebody who's in their 80s who has a very good, well-functioning heart. And to some extent, I think it has a lot to do with whether they exercised or not, whether they kept the heart as a muscle and whether you kept it beating regularly and the pressure was low. So as you get old, there's nothing that says you're old and you should not exercise. Your heart's not going to work. If you haven't been exercising, it may not function as well as somebody who has been, but it is a muscle, and it has the ability to change and to improve its function. So, there's nothing that says you're a certain age and you shouldn't do this. You should probably maybe do it if you haven't been doing it, do it on a more monitored basis where you're following those different blood pressure functions and heart rate functions, and you're paying attention to the symptoms that you might be having, or somebody's helping you pay attention to them. But I would not say I would not pick an age and say don't do it because this is going to be a problem at that age. People are individuals, and that's variable. I would say. People say, consult your physician before starting an exercise program. Right. Yeah. I think that's a good idea, but I would not look at any age and say I don't think I should do that.
I have another question, Dr. Cornelius. Brenda and I were talking earlier about the fact that a lot of times physicians don't take women serious with heart problems. I actually have a daughter who's 33 and has a heart condition, and it took her all her life to be diagnosed. Do you feel that? I mean, why is it that women aren't taken as serious? You may totally disagree with that.
Well, maybe some people don't, and I think historically, heart rates and heart problems, heart attacks, at one point was thought to be more of a man problem. Is that type A personality type, and as times change, but however, it was up to a certain point, and it was also thought that estrogen levels were somewhat protective and helpful in producing artery disease. But as that, let's say postmenopausal, what they noticed was that the incidence of heart disease and heart attacks actually equalized at a certain point. And then I think also there may be some other factors of, the workforce is changing, and you have your type A personality types, executives and women, and so you're maybe seeing some of the now, more of acceptance and those problems being problems that women can have. So if you notice a change in that and why before it wasn't as much, it may somewhat be reflective of the age, younger, less of a heart disease in younger women, and then there's changing in, I guess, the workforce demographics of, going more towards, it being a cross-gender, executive and leadership, positions. So, we have to pay, people, and I would say, and that's some people probably. Some people have probably always paid attention and listened to the patients, regardless who they were, and paid attention to their symptoms. And because clearly you can look at trends and say it might not be. I was talking to a woman just recently. I can say I don't think that it is, but you know what? I don't really want you to leave here and rest on my thinking. Sometimes you have to let's do a little something to make sure that it is not. And I'm pretty comfortable advising that this symptom was probably not coming from the heart, but let's not, because there are a lot of circumstances that says, well, it could be, this runs strongly in your family, and I don't think so. But let's take it a step further, and let's at least let's ask some more questions and see, and maybe consider doing some tests to make sure it's not. As I was saying to her, sometimes we have a tendency to think that more is better, and that's not necessarily the case. So just sending somebody off for a stress test, everybody off for a stress test or a cardiac, angiogram or catheterization is not necessarily better. I was saying to her that appropriate is better. The right thing is better, and not just, doing everything if that's not appropriate, because sometimes you have complications from doing the test, and you would like not to do a test and have cause a problem. So right is best.
Dr. Rogers, talk to us about omega-3 and omega-6. Why is that such a key component when it comes to heart health?
Just in terms of plaque formation and artery formation. And a lot is not really completely known about that. There's so many other factors. You can look at one thing and say, okay, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to focus on that. And we know that there's other factors, but it is shown those things in particular seem to be more associated with plaque formation. And we talk about plaques. You're talking about cholesterol, you're talking about the triglycerides and all those things that formulate to make to cause narrowing of the arteries. But we know that somebody could have everything that looks really bad, and then we find that some people, for some reason, don't have a problem with artery disease. And on paper, you would say, well, this doesn't make sense. And through that, logically, you can only conclude that there's something else that we don't know that's going on. And that's what I would say. So it's more associated with artery disease, but we don't know all the factors and other things that things we don't know.
So should I, because I take fish oil every day, is that okay to continue to take that?
That is okay, certain amounts. I would say that one thing we saw with vitamin E at one point, it was thought that would be a nice antioxidant, and it would actually help prevent artery disease, and people were taking a lot of it. Then they found that wasn't necessarily a good idea, that there should be a limitation on the amount that's taken in. And I would say that I'm not typically a trendy person. I like to actually, I pay attention to the research, but I'm not quick to jump to doing that, because you probably, in our lifetime, you probably know many times that we've started things and have found out, sometime later that wasn't a good idea. So I tend to pay it, not like I say, to think in moderation, think of, more natural things as opposed to medicines, Just an example for things like managing constipation. We're going to prune juice, vegetables, fiber. Let's go along there as opposed to taking something, exotic. And I can't really tell you. I mean, several medications out for that. My approach tends to be more try to do things more naturally and, and without medications if possible.
Well, Doctor, we thank you for being on the show. We hope we can bring you back again to help us out with some of the heart healthy matters. We want to see if we can go through something with you real quick. You think you got a few minutes for the McCain Train Express? We asked a couple of fun questions just to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
Okay, baby, go ahead.
Okay, it's going to go real fast, Doctor. And the first
okay.
Doctor, he can go fast.
If you had to choose between a Jaguar and a Benz, which one would you pick?
I picked the Benz.
Were you a teacher's pet or class clown?
Whoa. Man, I'm probably more the pet, but I went through the clown phase at times, at moments.
If you could live on the East Coast or the West Coast, which one would you choose?
Neither, actually. Probably the East Coast, actually. Yeah, East Coast.
Okay. Now, this is one that's a bad one, but you're craving fast food, burgers, White Castles, or Culver's?
White Castles or Culver's, you say? No, I'm going to Culver's. Are you kidding? No, I got that one. Yeah.
Okay. It's Friday night. Are you painting the town or watching your favorite show?
I'm watching my favorite show.
Hey, you Gladys Knight or Aretha Franklin?
Oh, Gladys Knight.
Deep dish pizza or home run in?
Deep dish.
You're more excited about free tickets to the Super Bowl or World Series?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting one. I think I'll go Super Bowl. One game, World Series, a bunch of games. Huh? Okay.
Would you rather vacation in Hawaii or Aruba?
Hawaii. More technology usually there in parts of it. I kind of like to be in a warm place, but I like some conveniences. I don't like to rough it too much. A little more roughing it down there in Aruba, I think.
If you had to choose one meat to eat for the rest of your life, would it be steak or chicken?
Chicken.
Okay. Well, what would you do to change about yourself if you could? I was going to say your weight or your hair, but you're a man, so I'm not sure how that would go.
Man, that's fading fast, so we're gonna just stay off of the hair thing because I can't do much. I can't do much about that anyway. So I want to focus on the weight. Okay. Yeah, I would say weight. Yeah.
It's a milestone birthday. Then there's a big party for Dr. Rogers with your friends. Did you plan it, or were you surprised?
I didn't plan it. I was, and I probably knew about it. No, I didn't. I knew about it. Yeah, too much control in there, person over. I knew about, but actually, I wouldn't. I'd probably go along with somebody surprise me. I wouldn't be. I'm okay with that. But that's never happened, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Then we have to speak to Sherry. Make that happen.
Yeah.
You're a world famous musician. Are you blowing a horn or playing the guitar?
Oh, I'm playing the guitar.
Okay. You get to be a superhero to your 4 children. Are you Superman or Batman?
Superman.
Okay. You Star Wars or Star Trek?
I think I'll go with. Oh, that's a tough one. I like the technology in Star Wars, and but Star Trek has a little bit better history over there, long history, and get around a little bit more. So, that's a hard one. I'll go with Star Trek.
Okay. Hey, Doctor, let people know how they can get in contact with you if they're looking for a good chiropractor, cardiologist, chiropractor. I'm talking about my back now. Cardiologist that they like to go to.
Yeah, I'm already looking them up.
Well, and I would refer somebody to that cardiologist. I'm in internal medicine. So if they reach me with 708-730-2200. That's my office number. And if they come in for a consultation, I would get them. I work with so many good physicians, cardiologists that I know. And but also we mentioned that you say chiropractor. I'm actually a certified massage therapy, and I work with chiropractors.
Right.
And see, I was going to do a triple threat for you. I wanted to tell people that,
and she didn't tell me.
He is this is a triple threat doctor over here. He works with Advocate Right, Physicians Partners Healthcare.
Yes,
he's a massage therapist and a life coach, right?
Yes.
See?
Yes.
Can they get 3 for 1 with you, or these are separate?
You know, I work them in. I work it in that way. You know, because you have to actually, you know, you're working with, you know, prescribing medication, trying to get results. You know, you have to, you know, be creative in motivating people. So therein lies the life coaching. I don't do as much as massage therapy. I hardly anymore. I work with in a chiropractor's office a couple of hours, and so I know what the therapy can do, but I don't usually do much of the massage therapy. I'm more of internal medicine and coaching, and you know, trying to get outcomes and people to change the behavior so that they get better outcomes. So I do incorporate the life coaching in the practice.
Hey, well, Doctor, thank you very much. I'm glad my wife told me that you're in internal medicine now. But because of that, now we know that we can definitely have you back to talk about some additional things. And so we really appreciate you giving, you know, us about 30 minutes of your time to talk about, you know, heart healthy and giving us some information on living a longer life. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Well, I'd be a pleasure to come back, and I hope I said something that helped somebody, and so by all means, and yeah, like I say, if you would like me back, if you feel I've helped somebody, then I'll come back.
Oh, definitely, we'll have you back because we're going to have some more medical things that's coming up on our show. So my wife will definitely be contacting you, sir. Thank you very much for being on Let's Stay Together Talk.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay.
Hey, we're running a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to go into our commercial break. Thank you for listening to Let's Stay Together Talk with my host, Brenda McCain and Tracy Brown Howard. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
This is Reverend Rick McCain. The Let's Stay Together Talk Show is a Christian show that seeks to bring the lost to Christ through discussing relationships that can be taboo to the church. Within these conversations, we seek to bring you into a closer relationship with Christ, where our desire is to teach and tell you that God loves you and will never leave you nor forsake you. If you have never accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you can do that now by repeating these words. Jesus, I believe that you died for my sins, and that by acknowledging that you are God's chosen vessel that died on the cross for the remission of sins, my sins are forgiven. Tonight, I accept you as my Lord and Savior, and I will live my life according to your will. By saying these words, you are now a child of God. It may not seem or feel like anything has changed, but you have now just transformed the eternity of your life. The Spirit of God is now a part of you and will lead you in the ways of the Lord. Your next step should be to find a church with a solid foundation of teaching God's Word, where you can learn more about this new life with Christ from other Christians. Welcome to the family of believers, and remember, God loves you, and so does the Let's Stay Together Talk Show.
Welcome back to the Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Now here is your host, Reverend Rick McCain and author Brenda McCain.
All right, welcome back to the Let's Stay Together show. I see Dion over there swinging his hand like, get ready, get ready.
I'm sorry.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed our guest today. We want to again thank our first doctor on the next step, and then that was a doctor, Mr. Artis, Dr. Artis, who came on the show. He stayed on this for a few minutes with us because he had to go to an emergency surgery, but we do appreciate him giving us a call in. And then we had the doctor, Cornelius Rogers, and he was internal medicine, right? So internal medicine and not a cardiologist, as your host, Reverend Rick McCain, said. But, he helped us with a lot of information, and it was very beneficial, and we'll have him back again.
Yes, and as my husband said, thank you for coming back with us for this last pull into the station here. We're about to go into Leave It in the Car.
Still mad at me because of last night?
Yes, I am. You get on my nerves with all of that complaining you do.
You gotta be kidding me. You're mad at me because I called you out about being wrong? Can't you just admit you're wrong and just move on?
I'm trying to move on, but you really made me mad. How dare you challenge me on not doing something? That's not the point, Rick. You don't do everything I ask you to do either.
Yeah, but Brenda, this doesn't have anything to do with what happened yesterday.
Whatever. Just keep driving so we can get home.
Baby, this is not the way we should go home. I didn't want to upset you. I only wanted you to know that it bothers me when you forget something that's important to me.
I know. I shouldn't be so mad at you about something I forgot. Can you forgive me?
Sure.
Let's just leave it in the car.
All right, so this is, again, fact or fiction. If this is a true leave it in the car or not, we're going to ask Tracy, what do you think?
I think it is true.
You think it's true. Okay. So, baby, you know that if it's true or not, and I know if it's true or not. I'm going to ask Dion to put up one hand if he thought that was true, one finger if you thought it was true, two if you thought it was. Dion is saying that it's true. Actually, we did not have this discussion in the car. We did not have this discussion in the car. This is basically, we found out that people will have a communication disagreement when someone will ask someone to do something and they don't do it. And what happens a lot of times, one of the top things that they say that couples argue about is the fact that the other person gets mad at you for getting mad at them. And it was one of the top things that they say that couples go through a lot of times. And, me and Brenda was playing it out to say, hey, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, but you're mad at me. And a lot of times people go through that. They go into that problem where they get angry at each other because I called you out. So, that happens, a lot with certain couples.
I cheated because I was watching Brenda's face and she was going through the motions with her mouth, so I just assumed it was true.
Yeah, because, Brenda, she got those movements and stuff like that. But,
yes.
I could be animated.
Well, you were animated because I believed it.
and so, what would you say about, that situation with leaving in the car?
Communication. But like you just said, the person does get mad at the other person when you calling them out on something, and especially when they feel like, I do practically everything. The one thing I don't do, you actually going to say something about it? So that could be nerve-wracking because you feel underappreciated.
And I think it's a defense mechanism, too. When somebody pushes you, you automatically push back.
Automatically.
Yeah.
You it's a reaction. And right. Like that. But here's the thing that we were trying to get people to understand is that if you have situations, arguments like that, again, you need to take time to reevaluate the decision. I came to Brenda and said, are you still mad at me? Because, and the way that it was said was a negative tone. How can you still be mad at me for what you did? and that, like you said, will cause someone to react, because if they're mad at you and then you get mad at them for being mad at you for something, it's just compound stuff. And so my reaction was in a negative way that caused her to be even angrier about me, what I said, and so, and also it comes to a point where, and it almost in an antagonistic way, you didn't do it, did you? And so it's it was a fight that was capping each other because we wasn't really sitting up there talking to each other. We were actually concerned about more who was right than trying to.
Right.
That was a good one this time.
Yeah,
we had these people food.
Yeah, you had me food.
That we did, but we're gonna go into this LSTT.
I ain't through with this yet.
Oh well, I thought you wanted me to wrap this up.
No, I'm not saying wrap it up. But thank you, Dion. what I was
Dion say?
Well, he did the put-him-ting, you know.
Oh.
See, that's what he see. You know, communication. She ain't listening here. This is true, though. Now. What's happening now? But the last thing I'm going to say, you know, about, you know, with this is that the way that it was, you know, is wrapped up. You know, Brenda came back at me and said, you don't do everything that I tell you to do either. And that's a defensive mechanism. What we've got to do in relationships and when we have a lack of communication is not do what I consider the tit for tat. Don't go back and find something that someone else didn't do because you didn't do something. The moral of the thing is to find a way to resolve the issue and not allow the issue to divide you. And so Brenda just said, I just want to get home and, you know, get there. And then it came to me, and not saying this is just a play. So it's not like Rick does it all the time and Brenda doesn't. But what basically was in this aspect, Rick was saying, you know, baby, this is not the way we should go home. You know, we shouldn't go home this way. We need to try to resolve this. You know, I wasn't trying to make you upset. So what he did was diffuse the situation. And that's what we have to do in our relationships. We've got to find a way to diffuse the situation. How do you minimize this argument and take the force or the volume or the intensity out of it? What you do is that you find something to relax the person in their thought process of not thinking that you're attacking them. You're saying, baby, I'm not trying to upset you. And so that kind of diffuses the situation. Then you say, all I was trying to do was let you know that it bothers me when what's important to me doesn't seem important to you. Now, that kind of diffuses the situation where the person can now sit there and hopefully, like a lot of times we don't do this, we still want to argue anyway. I think a lot of times we love arguing, but if you could diffuse the situation and hopefully that person will see that and will work with you, because my thing is if you can be negative back to someone who's negative, then you should be able to do the reverse. Be positive when someone's positive. And so in a positive vein, you know, Rick in this aspect took away the fire or the fuel from the fire and said, I'm not trying to make you mad. I just want you to understand. And then Brenda reciprocating, oh, you know, baby, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me?
Take ownership.
Right, take ownership. And that's what happened. And I said, you know, yes, I can. And we said, just leave it in the car, which basically means when we step out of the car, the issue doesn't come with us.
Amen.
And so what we wanted to show people in the leave it in the car this time is you know, like Trace said, take ownership, be able to compromise and remove the fuel from the fire so you can move forward in your relationship. Now, if you want to go to your relationship letter.
Must have liked that topic.
This is interesting here. It says, Dear LSTT, I am a successful person in my own right. Unfortunately, my family and friends see me as the ATM machine whenever they need something. I know the Bible says in Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much will be required. But I am so tired of feeling used and unappreciated. God knows I have a big heart and I love to give freely. But it seems as though the only time I see some of these family members and friends is when they are in need of my money. Sometimes I would like just to see them with no strings attached, no hidden agendas, and no motives. I have turned over a new leaf this year, and the ATM machine is about to close down unless I see it as an emergency. Please advise me. My heart is growing cold, and that is not me to turn away from my family and friends. Sincerely, Tapped Out. Help, Tapped Out, Tracy.
Okay, kids, I know that's not y'all that wrote that letter. Okay. But basically, you know, this year, you know, is the year of just telling it like it is for me. And I feel like you should just come on out and tell family how you're feeling. And they may be able to say, you know what, we didn't realize you were feeling that way, and come at you a different way. But it is okay to say, can't do it, not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. But I believe that you have to be honest and open with people so that they know how you are feeling. And what you can also say sometimes is, you know what? Financially, I can't do it for you, but how about I can do something else for you?
They're not going to believe that.
Hey. I mean, like you said, I can't get my car washed. Okay, well, let's come over and wash that car together. But you got to be open and honest and let people know you're feeling that way.
Sure.
That's a wonderful thing that you said, Tracy. I
here we
really
go.
like it.
I know, here we
this
go.
is when I get into my radical.
Betty Shabazz's husband.
Yeah. Doggone well, they know that they've been using her as an ATM machine because that was their purpose in the first place. They was trying to sit there and get that thing says more money, more money, more. They're trying to get as much money from her as she can. They're not thinking about her feelings and will be upset with the fact, how you got some of those families, they're upset that you don't want to give them any money, as though your own personal problems and situations that you have to take care of fall short to what they need or want. We have to be at a point, and what was the person's name again?
Tapped out.
We got to get a point where we do tap out and say, no, enough is enough.
Right.
And don't be concerned about, that they are, they might be upset. They need to understand that you have things you got to take care of too. That's now, right. I'm not saying just turn off from everybody, but have enough, common sense to say, I can't do this anymore. I can't do that. That's not something I can do. I did that then, but it was causing stress in my life doing that. And it just seemed like the only thing I was doing was enabling you. Yep. And you don't want to do something like that. Another thing is that's not what that scripture was meant for.
I have something for that.
Okay, so okay, you'll get your turn. Just wait until the master speaks.
God has not spoken.
Tap
out. But I just want to say this. It's all right that you tell somebody that you cannot help them anymore because it's causing stress for you mentally and maybe even financially, and if they don't want to accept that, then they are not really friends or families that you want to give to anyway.
Right.
Now, I want to interpret Luke 12:48.
Okay.
I truly believe that the family members and friends took that scripture and ran with it, because the idea of to whom much is given, much will be required, is that we are held responsible for what we have. If we are blessed with talents, wealth, knowledge, time, and the like, it is expected that we use these well to glorify God and benefit others. I think the family members took that and ran with it, that you have more than us, why not? Because just like Tracy was saying, unfortunately, to sum her statement of, you only are treated the way you are allowed to be treated from people, because if you constantly never say no to them, people are not going to stop asking. They figure, well, she didn't seem like she had a problem with it, or he didn't seem like he had a problem with it, so I just kept asking them, which is wrong. Right. But, that's just the nature of the beast there. They're going to keep on doing that. And for you, Tapped Out, I truly understand, because way, as Rick say, long time ago, before I got married, I had some friends that thought, well, you're not married yet, you make more money. And I'm like, how you know how much I make? Right. And they was coming to me for everything, and they were married. And so that bothered me. Now, I don't mind it if I know it's a situation, but when you just take advantage of someone and say, hey, can you get this? Not to pay a bill, not to do something. I want an outfit to go out. I see why I Tapped Out. It's like, wait a minute. Like Tracy said, if you can't get the car washed, we could wash the car together. But other stuff, if I'm not helping you to get on your feet, I'm not paying for you to go hang out and party.
Yeah, and it's good if you find alternatives for people. I can't do this, but you can do that. I mean, sometimes you can tell them, hey, I know how you can get some money.
Right.
It's like, hey,
fish.
they're hiring over here, or they need some overtime help here, or there's a man that has somebody that needs some help over here. When you show them that, then they're gonna say, I didn't say that I wanted to do any work for it. Well, hey, come on, I worked for it. You got to work for it.
That's true.
So Tapped Out, hey. Sometimes you got to say 1, 2, 3, it's over, and just let people know that the bank is closed, but there are other branches in the Chicagoland area that you can go to.
Learn to say no. The ATM is closed in 2016.
Hey, we're going to go on to Heart to Heart as we finish up Let's Stay Together Talk.
Let's Stay Together Talk presents Heart to Heart with Reverend Rick McCain.
This is Reverend Rick McCain. Let's have a heart to heart. Have you found yourself being disappointed? Disappointed with things that are happening in your life? Disappointed with situations? Disappointed with how people treat you? Have you found yourself even disappointed in yourself? Well, disappointment is a part of life. We go through ups and downs in our lives, and we go through highs and lows. We're going to be disappointed about things that happen, but what we must do is encourage ourselves. I would tell you that if you are feeling disappointment, the best thing you can do is go to the scriptures. Go to God's word, because his word and he himself will never leave you or forsake you. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts I have toward you, said the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an unexpected hope." Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything in prayer and supplications with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your heart and mind through Christ Jesus." And Acts 26:2, "Think yourself happy," as King Agrippa said, because he knew that those who accuse him of doing wrong, he was going to be able to come against them and their accusers. If you find yourself feeling down, feeling disappointed about things, situations, people, and yourself, I encourage you to use the Word of God as Scripture to take away the disappointment, because every time you use the Word of God to enlighten yourself and make yourself happy, you find yourself moving farther away from the things that disappoint you.
Welcome back to the Let's Stay Together talk show. Now here is your host, Reverend Rick McCain and author Brenda McCain.
Hey, so that was Heart to Heart. Just trying to encourage a couple of people to let them know that no matter what happens in your life, use the Word of God to be your encouragement. People may fail you. People may disappoint you. You may disappoint yourself. But the Word of God will always be able to bring joy back in your life wherever darkness is. And the more you move toward that joy, the farther you get away from that darkness.
That.
Tracy, what we got for Motivational Mojo?
We've actually got a winner. We've got Jerry Patterson, who picked love. And she says, "Love, to my first and primary love, no, not one, not of self, but the covenant to God. Because I am faithful to him, I must remain faithful to my husband."
All right.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry, very much for that. So we'll get Jerry Patterson her tickets. Is that the Jerry Patterson from New Faith Baptist Church
That's Jerry
International? Hey, thank you, New Faith, for listening out there. Jerry, we love you and all of our New Faith members.
Yes, we do. Hey, thank you for listening tonight on the McCain Train. We want you to listen next week, too. Our topic would be the resurrection of dreams, reinventing your career, second career, and breathing life into dead dreams. Now, the McCain Train has pulled into our last stop, and we would like to say thank you to our guests, Dr. Andre Artis and Dr. Cornelius A. Rogers, M.D., our social media specialist, Tracy Howard, and our producer, Dion Walker, for hanging out with us on the McCain Train.
Hey, thank you again for listening to Let's Stay Together Talk. I'm your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo, covenant partner, Brenda McCain, and Tracy Brown Howard. We'll see you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Woo-woo! Woo-woo-woo!
UrbanBroadcastMedia.com and check out the many services Urban Broadcast Media provides. Whether it's social media, video production, radio broadcasting, or audio recording, we got you